Is the sound back before I start talking again? Okay. Somebody said the sound came back with a boom. Yes, somebody said that I heard music. Tell me, folks, thumbs up in the chat. Sound is back. You can hear me. Okay. All right. So let's pretend I didn't just talk because you didn't hear me anyway. So I will start over. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So here's where we are. Monday, November 25th, Jack Smith makes a huge announcement. What is that announcement? Well, it looks a little something like this, which is with Lady Liberty laid out, knocked out on the floor, uttering, "I can't breathe." And why is that? Well, because over the last 4 years, I believe that Merrick Garland was suffocating our justice system until we arrived at this day, which is where Jack Smith states what it is we all knew was coming. And we all said when Donald Trump became president, what would happen? What would happen to his cases? What would happen to the January 6th case? What would happen to the documents case? What would happen to his sentencing in New York? Well, now we know. Jack Smith files to drop all federal charges against Donald Trump. Now, is anybody shocked by this? No, because did we think that Donald Trump was going to come in and allow Merrick Garland to continue doing what Merrick Garland has been doing, which is nothing for the last 4 years? I want folks to understand that this is not actually Jack Smith's fault. Jack Smith just should have been appointed as special counsel in 2021. You see, he was not given the timetable that we all understood. You see, here's the thing about Merrick Garland and now Joe Biden, because this is now Joe Biden's legacy as well, which is that Merrick Garland believed that America, after Donald Trump incited an insurrection, after Donald Trump upended all of our political norms, that we could just turn the page. We'll just turn the page. We'll move on. The election of Joe Biden in 2020 was supposed to be our move on moment, right? The country was devastated under COVID-19. Thousands of people were still dying every single day. Joe Biden came in, quickly operationalized our vaccines, right? Got shots in arms, began to piece back together and do the janitorial work of cleaning up after 45. But he too believed this was just a rough patch and we just need to turn the page. And their idea of turning the page was pretending that Donald Trump didn't happen, that the American people had already had their say because they didn't elect him in 2020. So there was no need for a robust investigation on day one. There was no need for Merrick Garland to take what he already had as evidence in front of him, which was the Mueller report, the 10 ways in which Donald Trump had obstructed justice, had that perfect call, right? With Zelensky and others. Do me a favor, though. That's what he said to Zelensky. Oh, yeah, I'll help you, but do me a favor, though. So we thought that Joe Biden appointing Merrick Garland as Attorney General was some type of poetic justice, following what should have been Merrick Garland's appointment to the Supreme Court that didn't happen under Obama because of Mitch McConnell setting up 3 seats for Donald Trump to be able to fill with an extremist court, which we have now. So we thought that Merrick Garland was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to get in there and show those MFers because they should have appointed me to the Supreme Court, and I believe in justice above everything. That's what he told us. But he didn't. You see, because what I realize now is that Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are 20th century monuments in a 21st century war. Let me say that again. They are 20th century monuments in a 21st century war. Donald Trump and MAGA have been waging a war on our democracy since 2016. Since 2016, they have upended political norms. They have pushed our institutions to the brink. And now we are in a place where for the last 2 years, Jack Smith has been meticulously pulling together cases on Donald Trump, the documents that he stole, that, remember, the archives asked him politely, please return these things. They are not yours. Please return these things. They are not yours. And he said, F you. I don't care. They're mine. So once Donald Trump announced that he was running for 2024, Merrick Garland's Department of Justice was already behind the 8 ball. Because this is what I refer to, friends, as a failure of imagination. The only thing that should have been on the mind of Merrick Garland when he was appointed to be Attorney General should have been, I am actually cleaning house. I am going through this Department of Justice and making sure that no Trump sycophants are here and that the only people that are here are people that believe in the rule of law. And we are going to get to the bottom of what Donald Trump did while he was in office to ensure that he can never happen again, him or anyone like him. But instead, what did they do? Merrick Garland twiddled his thumbs, giving Donald Trump over a year to plan for 2024. Then when he announced, then Merrick Garland wants to turn around and say, oh, now we're appointing a special counsel. Well, how was that not political? All this time, Merrick Garland had been saying that he didn't want to move from a place of politics. Then why the hell would you wait to appoint a special counsel until Donald Trump decided that he was going to run again? That should have happened as soon as that man stepped on that plane and left the South Lawn. He should have been under investigation. Because days prior, he had sent an armed mob, which, by the way, are getting ready to be pardoned on day one. So now Donald Trump, we thought he had his militia before. Now he has people that are going to owe them his freedom. So do you think that those people are going to listen to moving forward? The man that freed them, who they went to the Capitol, they stormed the Capitol for, or the Constitution of these United States? These people, and by these people, I mean Merrick Garland and his Department of Justice, failed America. And in a lot of ways, I asked this question yesterday on Blue Sky, and I posted it on Instagram, and I said, what will Joe Biden's legacy be? How will you remember him? And what I said is that he will be remembered for appointing the most ineffectual, flaccid attorney general that cost America democracy. That's what Joe Biden is going to be remembered for. He's not going to be remembered for student loan debt relief. He's not going to be remembered for the vaccinations. He's not going to be remembered for any of the quote unquote good things. It's going to be the failure to stop a fascist from taking over this country, not exiting the race soon enough, not putting in place the people and the procedures that could reinforce our democracy and steal it for future generations to come. No. He is going to be remembered as the man that failed democracy by I mean, you could have seen, let me tell you something. If within 6 months, Merrick Garland had not done anything on Joe Biden, Merrick Garland would have been given a pink slip if I had been president of the United States. Because what are we doing? You can't tell me that you're an institutionalist and you believe in the rule of law and you just cleared the path for our next several presidents or next several dictators to just use the presidency now as cover. That's what this is. It's a get out of jail free card. Who wouldn't want to be president of the United States? Because as Donald Trump said, you can commit murder now and just watch your poll numbers go up. Joe Biden will also be remembered with the last 2 months of his presidency. What did he do? He didn't pardon his son. I don't know if he's waiting to do that. He didn't stop a genocide. He didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm not supplying weapons to Israel anymore now that you've killed, I don't know, like a fucking 100,000 people and made me look like a fool on the international stage, on the world stage. No, Joe Biden has used the last couple of months to dismiss the international courts that are seeking, that are seeking Netanyahu's head, are seeking criminal charges against him. Now, all of a sudden, the ICC doesn't know what it's doing. But when they wanted to present criminal charges against Putin, Joe Biden was all for that. These last 2 months, Joe Biden might as well have clocked out in July and just given the presidency over to Kamala Harris, because I'm pretty sure that in these next 2 months, she would have been doing a hell of a lot more than what Joe Biden is doing. So what we have to understand is that we are in a 21st century war with people and a Democratic Party that is not built for this moment. They have not risen to the occasion. They have been given a number of opportunities to rise to the occasion, and they have failed. And what sealed the deal for me was Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden welcoming in the fascists that they've all been warning us about and taking selfies with him. And I'm supposed to believe that that was okay because that's protocol. He failed us. He told us that he was going to fight for the soul of this nation, but apparently that was on an egg timer. And now you have, Chuck Schumer talking about, oh, well, we'll work on things that we can come, to a compromise on. What's that? Because you've compromised our integrity as a nation. We look like a fucking joke right now. Do you see what they have done? We talked about this last week. What they are doing right now in Brazil. Their former president, Bolsonaro, has now been indicted, along with 36 of the members of his cabinet and administration for doing what? An attempted coup. Marine Le Pen in France, the French Trump, is staring down a 5-year prison sentence for what? Embezzlement, better known as the grift. The world is taking care of their criminals. The world is actually showing America, oh, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And guess what? Our countries are not going to fall apart, because do you know how countries fall apart? When you let criminals take power. And I'll tell you this, friends, for the last couple of weeks, I've been really thinking about how I do this show, right? Like, do I begin to self censor? Do I begin to try and find euphemisms of the way to talk about this moment that we're in? And I am today in a I don't give a fuck mood, because this place, this country is going to be unrecognizable in 2 months. It is just, and we need to come to grips with that. I saw this today and I nearly spit my coffee out. Imagine Christmas shopping when the country is going to implode in 2 months. And I saw this and I was just like, this is literally how I feel right now. Like, we are pretending, right? As we prepare, turkeys and shopping lists and Christmas lists and all of these things. And meanwhile, I'm like, oh, this is our last holiday season. Because who knows where we will be, not only in 2 months on MLK Day, when the white Christian nationalist puts his hand on the Bible standing on the steps of our Capitol building, the very Capitol building that he had sent a mob to 4 years prior. To do what? Like, why even put your hand on the Bible? I hope he doesn't. I hope he's just like, gets up there and is just like, yeah, I'm here until I'm not. And then drops the mic and kind of moves on. Because what? What have we done? And I don't mean we, because you watching this, we all did the right thing. But a majority of Americans decided, democracy just wasn't their jam anymore. And because of that, look at what is happening in Texas. I read this story today, and this is up at the New Yorker. The Texas OBGYN exodus. Amid increasingly stringent abortion laws, doctors who provide maternal care have been fleeing the state. And before people say, well, you should just move, I have said so many times that moving and being able to pick up your whole life is in fact a privilege. And too many Americans can't afford a $400 bill that comes unexpected, let alone packing up and leaving their whole lives. But doctors who have resources and who are afraid of going to jail are fleeing not only Texas, but all red states, because they can't provide the kind of care that they swore an oath to do and keep their license or keep their freedom. It is extraordinary. And I want to read this piece right here. Quote, from a medical standpoint, the treatment for abortion and miscarriage was the same. And so, even though miscarriage care remained legal, physicians began putting it off or denying it outright. After Roe was overturned, the laws in Texas tightened further so that abortion was banned at any phase of pregnancy unless the woman was threatened with death or, quote, substantial impairment of a major bodily function. Violations could send practitioners to prison for life. One of the women profiled in this piece was a mother of two, pregnant with her third child that she had named, that she had started buying gifts for. But she realized that something was not right with this pregnancy. It didn't feel the same. She went to the OBGYN, who told her that her placenta had grown over and she was going to have a really difficult pregnancy. So she began going back and forth to the doctor each week. And then in her 15th week, she goes in for her ultrasound and there is nothing. There is no heartbeat. And because of Texas law, instead of placing her in the hospital and doing an emergency procedure in order to remove, right, the fetus, they sent her home and told her the tissue now will pass. And she was like, I'm confused. You're telling me now that it's tissue and it'll pass, but the law says it's a baby, and so I can't remove? So I got to go home. And she goes home and she waits for weeks and she starts to not feel well. She goes to visit 2 or 3 other doctors. When she gets to the third one, they're like, I am so sorry. You should have never been sent home to deal with this miscarriage on your own. We need to do an emergency operation right away. And they did. And I will tell you, folks, that we are hearing these stories over and over and over again. And in this case, this woman, she survived. Will she be able to have another child? Maybe, maybe not. But I also saw the other day that Texas, the state's maternal mortality rate has spiked like 8 to 10% since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Texas is basically an underdeveloped country right now. A country that is like they're operating like they are a country without supplies, without resources, without education, without doctors. Because what women and people with uteruses inside of Texas are being forced to deal with are things that you would hear about in underdeveloped countries. It is becoming an OBGYN desert. And this is okay with them. Not only is it okay, they are celebrating it. And folks, here's the thing. In a few months, Donald Trump is going to sign a national abortion ban. This is what Americans voted for. And, you know, I'm going to put this up, Daisy, because this is something that I have been grappling with, is that this country really does hate women. Women are seen as nothing more than incubators. And if you can't have a baby naturally, if you don't have a baby, then there's something wrong with you. And we punish women because I can think of nothing worse than one, losing a pregnancy that you wanted, and then two, being forced to either deliver a stillborn child, right? Risk losing your uterus altogether or dying. The cruelty of it all. How do you say that you even care about children when this is what you do? Because we also know that when children are born, right, into homes that are economically disadvantaged or emotionally and, physically unprepared, it's not as if these states step in with the most rigorous family policies. They don't. It's funny. Um, somebody I was watching the other day, the author, and somebody tell me who is the author of the Handmaid's Tale. But there was an interview, and she was talking about the fact that she put nothing in the Handmaid's Tale that was actually quote unquote science fiction, meaning that it hadn't happened. Like, she used real things that had been done to women throughout history as her guide for the Handmaid's Tale. The things that we saw and that women were forced to do are things that have been a part of our history. She said, I didn't need to make anything up, right? Like, this is what we've done to women and will continue to do to women. Margaret Atwood, thank you so much. The author's name. And I thought to myself, wow, you made what is one of the most like prolific sci-fi stories, dystopian stories, using only true things that have been done to women. That's wild. And and that's what makes me shiver at where we're headed. And the fact is, I've been saying this a lot, and I said it on MSNBC over the weekend. I said, I'm at the point where I actually believe that Donald Trump is necessary at this point. At this stage, I believe that Kamala Harris would have been brilliant and people would have gone back to sleep. And they would have thought that all of our problems had been solved so that they can go back to just not caring. And that maybe it does. Maybe it does take losing every fucking thing for folks to recognize, oh, we actually have to be proactive. We actually have to understand the responsibility of our citizenship. Like, oh, maybe more women should run for office, more queer people should run for office, more Black people should run for office until we reach a tipping point where those that are making the decisions about the rest of us are actually represented, right? Representative of the rest of us. But my God, I'm like, did I also need to be a part of the find out part of the fuck around? Because I didn't need to fuck around. I knew what was coming. And so did all of you. But here we are. And it's like one of this saying, right? Sometimes you don't know what you had until it is gone. And so, democracy. Thanks to Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, the establishment Democrats who had a failure of imagination around Donald Trump, who did not use their time thoughtfully about what kind of guardrails, what do we need to do to ensure this never happens again? Because clearly the Senate didn't do its job in impeaching him. So as soon as Joe Biden came, what can we do? because we did not recognize, and neither did our founding fathers, that if a criminal got in here, then all of those things that we thought were laws were just handshake deals and could go out the window. Right now, right, there is news going around. Oh, Donald Trump is not going to do an ethics report, and he's not doing background checks, FBI background checks for the people that he's appointing. And I'm like, so did you expect him to? Who gives a fuck? Like, don't even waste ink on that story, because I'm like, what's the point here? Oh, you mean that a criminal is going to do criminal things? Shocking. News at 11. But here's one of the things that got me, and I had to turn off, and I wasn't watching cable news yesterday. I was watching local news. And this story came across, and I had to turn that off too. Because I was like, I swear to God, all of these people wanted to talk about the economy. They were voting on the economy, the price of eggs and the price of gas. And lo and behold, 3 weeks following the election, look at what CNBC is reporting. Magically, Thanksgiving dinner is historically affordable this year. Is that right? Oh, yes, it gets better. The cost of this year's holiday feast, estimated at $58.08 for a 10-person gathering, or $5.81 a head, dropped 5% since last year, the lowest level since 2021, according to a nationwide survey of grocery prices by the American Farm Bureau Federation, which represents millions of U.S. farmers. But the picture improves, they write, further when adjusted for inflation. Where the fuck was this story in October? Where was this story in September? Because you see, the entire narrative had been about, oh, what is Biden and what is Harris going to do? How are they going to defend the economy? You mean defend in how good it is? Defend how America was able to rebound without going into a recession following COVID? You mean all of the policies and all of the things that were put in place and how we were told that inflation was going to go down, but we just needed to hang on? How there had been no reporting on the fact that every single time that a Republican has been in office, that they leave office with a major deficit, a recession, and then guess who gets to come in and play janitor and clean up? But who is running with the narrative that Democrats are bad on the economy? Well, it would be those people that are sitting in the C-suites of networks that benefit from the tax breaks that Republicans offer them. That's why the narrative runs away. But lo and behold, voila. All of a sudden, the economy is great. And all of a sudden, Republicans don't care that much about the economy. I swear to you folks, I run out of fucks to give. I am like running on empty as we just careen towards the end of this year. And that is exactly how I feel, Demetrius. Don't look up. That is exactly how I feel like we are stuck, right, in that satirical movie that was actually a documentary. That is America. So here's where we'll close out today, which is that last week, I let everyone know, as everyone found out, that Joe and Mika of MSNBC, of Morning Joe, decided to travel down to Mar-a-Lago. And over the course of last week, they watched their ratings fall off of a cliff. And then they were shocked and wanted to come out with a story that said that, oh, well, we were worried about ourselves. And we were worried about Donald Trump being vindictive and taking us out. And so we just wanted to preempt it because that made them look better. It didn't. It didn't at all. And so here is what has been reported since. By Tuesday, following their announcement, the Morning Joe audience had slipped to 680,000. Folks, that was down from their average of a little over 1 million. And then on Wednesday of last week, it slipped even more to 647,000 viewers. Thursday, it rebounded. And we'll find out where it goes this week. The Washington Post, they said, learned the very same thing when they decided that Jeff Bezos wanted to protect his Amazon contracts with the government, so he wasn't going to use the Washington Post to endorse a candidate. Because it's not like he gave a fuck about democracy. This was about him and his shareholders. 250,000 people ended their subscriptions. 250,000 people ended their subscriptions to the Washington Post following that. And, the thing is, people say, well, where are folks going? Here, independent media, right? With voices and people who are not bought and sold, whose only mission, like mine, is to tell the truth. Right? I don't sit on here, turn on a microphone, and just spread lies. I tell it like I see it. But these people who are obeying in advance are receiving absolute and total pushback, which they should. Because you, the American people, the American public, should demand better. So I will tell you, I don't know how long MSNBC exists for. I don't know how long cable news can keep its head above water. I don't know what happens to these outlets like the Washington Post and others, but I'm certain that bit by bit, little by little, you will start to see favorable pieces on Donald Trump. Oh, he's so great. Look at all of these criminals that he's picked up. Look at this new building that is in Texas that is housing, right, tens of thousands of people that were ready to kick back over across the border, until all of a sudden you wonder where your neighbor is. You wonder where the bus driver is. You wonder where the cashier went. But will mainstream news be covering that? Probably not. Because Donald Trump has already won. And so the thing is, folks, is information is power. It is our currency. And we have to continue to support independent voices and media spaces and lift up those who believe in truth. Because I do believe that we can rebuild the fourth estate, but it is not going to be through legacy media doing the quote unquote right thing, because they wouldn't know the right thing with a flashlight, right? And if it bit them in the face, they've already sold their souls. So it is truly up to the rest of us to continue to vote with our dollars and our eyeballs to say that we demand better than what it is that you're going to present to us, that I don't trust you anymore. So I'm taking my business, my money, my eyeballs, my resource elsewhere. And so I say, keep it up. Because maybe, just maybe, they will do something different. They will change course. But it will be time for something new. I have no idea what just happened behind me. My speakers just came on all by themselves which is terrifying because it makes me think that people are listening to me and not all of you. And now I can't stop it. That was so crazy. So folks, I will end with this, which this is a cartoon from last year. Last year's Thanksgiving, which said, here's the turkey. After you, I heard you've had a bad year. And here is the dove of peace, looking frazzled and beat to shit. And it says, pardons this way. Like, God only knows what the Thanksgiving cartoon will be this year. But, maybe it'll look like Oprah with that meme. You get a pardon, you get a pardon, you get to be back in office, you get you get a cabinet position, you get a cabinet position. I don't know, y'all. We will make it through. I don't know what the other side looks like, but I know that I will continue to be here speaking truth to power for as long as I can, for as long as it is safe, and as long as it is possible. But my goodness, are we in for it? So quick programming note. Tomorrow is Town Hall Tuesday. So do make sure that you come with your questions at the end of the show. I do 15 minutes of a town hall, which we will do. I will be here on Wednesday. I will obviously not be here this Thursday, as I hope all of you will be either with family or framly, or maybe just laying on a beach somewhere, or just finding joy in the way that you do. So Thursday's show will not be here, but Waj and I will be doing Democracy-ish on Friday, 12 p.m. So that is a little programming note to all of you. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these incredibly dangerous times, dear friends, please do stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate you. And thank you all so very much for your donations. I can't express enough how much they mean to me and how they allow me to continue doing the work that I do. So thank you. I know that money is not easy to come by. And so I appreciate everything that is sent my way. All right, y'all, be well, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern.